I feel like when it comes to design and UX and product design, basically where we're looking at a portfolio, I don't think AI is there yet to be able to make a proper assessment as to that match. I'm not saying it won't be, but I don't think it will be next year. I don't think it will be for a few years. I think it's probably inevitable because of
Yeah.
how fast it's growing and developing. Now, I'm not necessarily worried about AI snatching up all the specialist roles that require that, as I said, that nuanced knowledge about what makes a good portfolio, or not necessarily good because it's subjective, but what matches this portfolio to this client's requirement, I guess. And I can get it from a CV buzzwording matching point of view, where AI could do that, or an ATS system could potentially do that, or does attempt to do that. I don't think it does it as well as we. Well, I don't think it can even
Well,
just take the
with
portfolio out of the equation.
yeah,
I still don't think it can do it as well as a specialist human recruiter, personally. I
yeah,
mean, I'm probably biased, obviously. You talked right
yeah,
at the start, we talked also about people tailoring their applications per role, right? And, perhaps adding certain words into their CVs to match that particular brief. So they're almost playing the system a bit. And, the ATS system isn't going to realize that. And it's going to be like, right, well, this person has got this many buzzwords in there, and so they
Well,
must be a good fit for the role. But I
isn't
just,
there that thing where people are like putting in the buzzwords and then making it the same color text
you can't see
as
that.
the
That's
page,
that,
so
yeah,
the human eye can't see it, but the ATS system sees like a whole tranche of
yeah.
keywords in size one font and white
It's yeah.
text.
That was a trick that I heard years ago before ATS
Yeah,
systems or AI was being used in recruitment, because a lot of recruiters who typically they might be more junior, a bit newer to the game. They'll do what's called a Boolean search when they're looking for profiles via LinkedIn or a job board. And a Boolean search basically uses keywords that you want to find. Okay, so for example, if you're looking for a UX designer, you might put in your Boolean search wireframes, user flows, user research, personas, and you put that into the search, and then it will flag up with the best results at the top which CVs have got those words in there the most times. And if you're not necessarily using that sort of specialist knowledge, you might think, right, well, this person's at the top of the list. Look how many times they've mentioned wireframes and UX and user
yeah,
research and
exactly.
Figma. They must be the best fit for the job. And and so that was happening years ago. So that
Yeah,
trick that you just talked about, I heard about that years and years ago.
yeah,
And
yeah,
but again, that goes to show that you can see how ridiculous that sort of process is. So I just don't see how that makes finding the best candidates. And equally, when I'm giving people CV advice, one thing I'm never a fan of, but again, this is all subjective. One thing I'm never a fan of is on CVs where you have your summary and you have your jobs, and then people do a massive list of skills or
yeah,
software that they
yeah, yeah,
use, and it
yeah,
takes up half the page, and it's all very generic. There's no context there as to how good they are with Figma or Adobe
just a
Creative
just a
Suite
list of
or
words.
bonus. Yeah, exactly. It's just purely a list of roles. And I'll talk to them about it and they say, oh, yeah, that's for the ATS system. I was just like, and it's, I get it. I do get it. But for me, and I think when I'm dealing with my clients, we'd much prefer everything contextualized. So rather than you listing out wireframes, prototypes, and Figma, which gives no real indication of how good you are or how experienced you are with those,
Yeah,
contextualize it within the descriptions of work that you're doing so that I can see, oh, right, so you were doing this as part of your process, you were using that software as part of your process.
yeah.
And
But
equally, it's like when people have those lists and then they score themselves out of five,
yeah,
4 out of 5 star. Again, I just don't, I get the sentiment behind it, and I get you can kind of give a sort of rough, okay, well, I'm an expert in Figma, I'm less good at, I don't know, Adobe Creative, whatever it might be, Photoshop. Um, but you're still scoring yourself. And
the
and
thing
and again, I just don't think that's giving enough
the
context
thing is,
for.
you
Yeah.
used to be able to do all that, and it didn't matter. You'd still get in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's the truth of it, right? So all
Yeah.
these things you're talking about, like putting list of words and all this, because I hired UX people, and I just look at it and go, okay, that's where they've worked,
Mm.
and they've got the little sliders on the skills, whatever.
Yeah.
Get them in. because I'm only choosing between about 5 people anyway. So
Yeah.
you could kind of do stuff like that, and people didn't have to have this rigor and this scrutiny on the CV. Like as a hiring manager, I used to just leave it to the interview to work it out. But it's like I think now that's changed.